Well, good morning. Hello, my name is Brian DiNapoli. I'm the co-host of this podcast called NIL Mindset. And this is a passion project to help student athletes and parents with resources on mental health, drug and alcohol prevention, name, image, and likeness, financial literacy, and other issues. And today we have a very special guest who's been a coach and referee for many years in the state of Georgia. He also works in drug and alcohol prevention, and we both have a passion to help young people in drug and alcohol prevention. We met at a conference a few months ago in DC, and we just hit it off. He's a fellow Bulldog fan, and he was telling me about his experience as a referee and a coach. And I just thought he'd be an excellent guest on this newly formed podcast. And his name is Tommy Baker. So, hello, Tommy. How are
Hey,
you today? Can you tell
uh,
everyone where you're from and what got you into coaching and refereeing?
sure. I'm from Rome, Georgia, little city, a little about 65 miles northwest of Atlanta. Um, as far as coaching, probably I was fortunate to have coaches all the way up through high school that would always make all of us, all the players, not just know our position, but know where everybody else was supposed to be and going through everything, which um, it's like when you start understanding the game from every perspective, not just yours as a guard or a shooting guard or a post player or whatever, it makes you like understand the game more. And luckily, to all the coaches would talk about game. We would always work on game time situations, and no matter how the practice went, the last usually 2 or 3 minutes was okay. We're down by three. We got the ball out of bounds down here. What do we do? And set up plays, that kind of stuff. So it was basketball has always been a passion. Plus, I have to give my sister part of the credit. My sister was 9 years older than me, and she's the one who really got me started, playing basketball in the yard, and because she played. Uh, and she was actually part of the first women's team at Shorter College in Rome as well. So,
Wow, that's amazing. For me, it was my brother. So that's powerful how one person, their influence can plant a seed that grows into a
yeah,
lifelong calling.
this is true. Yes, sir, it is.
That really is great. I'm thinking of some great coaches like John Wooden, who's probably my favorite all-time coach. Of course, he was a player, but he always knew he wanted to be a coach when he was playing.
Yeah, he was the best coach. I got to see him coach a little bit, not a lot, because when I was born and everything. But I have one of his books on my dresser in my room that I read. I've already read it a couple times. I go back and reread just different chapters of it because even still now that I'm not coaching, I'm refereeing. I'm on the other side. My coaching buddies tell me I've gone to the dark side now. So but so I'm like, yeah, well, have to do something. I love the game so much, have to give back to it. So
No, that's right. I know you're really at the grassroots level helping these young people. You're as a referee now, so we'll get into that in a few minutes. So, what's
okay.
the most memorable game you've been a part of?
Whew, I narrowed it down to two, and both of them involve me as a coach, not as a player. Even though there were some memorable ways, I have some games that really meant a lot to me when I was playing. But as a coach, I was coaching at a pretty large school in Bartow County, Georgia, Cass Middle School. And at the time, I was the boys' assistant coach. It was only my second year teaching, so the girls' coach resigned from coaching right before the Christmas break. And I get a phone call during our Christmas break, and the principal's like, I need you to coach the girls. And I'm like, what? You have a coach for the girls? He's like, no, she's not coaching anymore. I'm like, okay, great. Um, the weird thing was that they'd only won one game at the time. That was the weird game. Um, but we practiced over the Christmas break, which was hard getting kids together during that time, of course, obviously. And I remember our first game coming back, we're playing a team that has played together all the way up through middle school and everything. And they haven't lost a game in 2 years. And they'd already beaten the girls close to 20. And I remember we were starting the fourth quarter. We were down, I think about eight, something like that. And I told the girls, this is what we're going to do. This is what's going to happen. And I told one of the best players who's a great shooter, I said, you're going to hit a three. We're gonna steal their inbound pass, and we're gonna cut the lead to 3 points just like that. And they were looking at me like, okay, we got this. And thank God that's what happened. We the girl shot a three, it went in. We stole the inbound pass, shot a layup, and I was like, okay, now they're gonna believe, you know. So luckily, somehow I don't know how we did it. We came back and won the game by two. And it was just that game was really, you know, a start for my head coaching as far as in the school system. And that was good. The other game was coaching boys, and we were playing an arch rival up close to Ridgeland High School, and we were down by I think 18 going into the fourth quarter, and I'm already in my mind going, you know, when do I start putting other guys in? When do I start subbing and stuff? And I'm not sure what happened, and I've gone back and watched that tape so many times. I still can't figure out what happened, but we came back and won that one by two. And I'm like, you know, and the one thing I told him after the game was, okay, y'all need to quit doing this. I can't take my heart can't handle all of it. But you know, it was really good. I mean, as far as coaching goes, I've been really blessed with players that want to play and want to learn and stuff. So that's been a really blessing too. So every game, you know, has some parts that you remember, but you know, those two probably stand out in my mind.
Yeah, that's amazing, Tommy. Thank you for sharing that you sort of accidentally got into coaching. And I'm thinking of a movie. There's so many movies where someone just, they told me, hey, you've got to coach these kids right, off the street essentially. So a friend of mine once told me with discomfort comes growth. So
Yeah.
it sounds like it was uncomfortable at first, but then it was turned into really a passion. And I know it still is today.
Oh yeah, it is. And speaking of movies, my favorite basketball movie is Hoosiers. So, you know, uh, we
I'd
were
have to put it up there too. It's in. I've probably seen it 10 times. I can always turn on and watch 30 minutes of it.
oh yeah, it was a good movie. And my first year at first full year at that school with the girls in Bartow County, once we chose a team, we would always have a cookout after that, and we would watch that movie. Um, and of course, they were like, "Why are we watching this for?" Because that's, you know, it's an older movie. And then when we got to the end, they understood while we were watching it, you know. So
That's right. It really is a timeless movie. I googled. I'd heard some rumors that it was based on a true story.
yeah,
I'm sure it's sort of a composite of true story teams in North Carolina like that. I want to say it was based in the 50s, but it's an
yeah.
incredible movie. I'd say that, and then for football, Rudy.
Being a Georgia fan, I don't know if I can go with that one or not, but
Oh, that's right.
after this past season, but I mean, they've got to beat us at some point in time. But um, as far as movies go, I'll have to go with for football. Remember the Titans, because part of that was filmed here in Rome. So
It was, and I do. I'm a community coach at Druid Hills High School in Atlanta, and they filmed the school part there too. I didn't know they filmed that in Rome, but
yeah.
that's one of my favorites. And then Friday Night Lights. I read the book,
Oh
and
yeah.
I love the show.
I love the movies, Friday Night Lights on the show. It was great. And a funny story about that, I used to travel for a company, and I was in the city of the school that the movie was about, and I had not realized it. And my niece called me and was like, "Do you know where you are?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in Texas." And she's like, "No." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm in Texas." And she said Friday Night Lights. I'm like, I still don't get it. And she goes, the school, you're in the city with the school, get me a t-shirt. So that started a collection. Every time I traveled, I had to get her a t-shirt of a local school, high school or college from where I was. So she's in her 30s now. So she has a nice collection of t-shirts from every city and stuff that I've had to travel to before of a school
Wow,
from that city.
that's very cool. I want to say the team was Permian. I think it was.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
Permian. Yeah, excellent. And what about the biggest challenge of being a coach or an official? What are some of the biggest challenges?
Um, as far as a coach, it's just being able to learn your students and your players because a lot of them, I mean, for me, basketball coaching is just teaching. I mean, you can call us coaches or whatever you want to call us, but really just teaching. Um, so for me, the biggest part for coaching was learning how to communicate with each player in the proper way that would motivate them, because every player doesn't respond well from being yelled at. Every player doesn't respond to just being talked to or whatever. So you have to, for me, it was important for me to learn how to communicate with those kids, because in the end, end of every day, end of every practice, they're still kids, and you want them to be successful, and you want them to learn, and you want them to just to be a part of something too. So there's everything you're going in. Probably the second hardest thing was trying to manage the games as a coach where you could possibly get every player in the game at some point. And some games, that's hard. Some games you only see 7 or 8 people from each team play. Sometimes you see everybody play at least a little bit. So it's hard. And when you have kids and parents that want their kid to play, which is every parent, every kid, um, that's a hard balance. But I mean, luckily again, blessed with good players when I coach, blessed with very supportive parents everywhere I've been coaching and stuff. Um, the refereeing part is a little harder if you have what we call in that industry rabbit ears. So if you're listening to the fans and the stands and the coaches sometimes, it can be a little discouraging because they don't have very much good to say about you for the most part during the game. Luckily, so far, the association I'm a part of and most of our referees in our association, we don't hear a lot of the bad stuff because our goal is to be consistent and know the rules and enforce the rules like they're supposed to be enforced. So for us in this group, it's trying to be consistent, let the kids decide the game, us not insert ourselves into the game. And like we tell the younger referees, the best game that you can referee is the game that you're not noticed. That when the players leave the game, the fans leave the game, they go, "Well, who refereed that game, by the way?" And they don't really remember who you are. The other hard part for me is being from Rome, and our association covers this area. Pretty much everybody knows me when I go to the game. So that can be a good thing or a bad thing. For me, so far, it's been a good thing. Um, and having the reputation for me personally that the kids and the players know how I call a game. So they know what to expect when they see me come in the door for the game.
Yeah, that's really unique. You have a unique perspective on all sides as a coach, as a referee, and as a player.
Yeah.
So that's really great. It's almost like you're an elected official in like a legislator in the community. Everyone knows you when you go out, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, when I first started teaching and coaching, when I first started, I didn't live in the same city I coached. So it was easy to go out in the community and everybody, still know you, but it wasn't like whatever. But the last years in public education, I was teaching in Rome, living in Rome. So when you went to the mall out to eat, you were running into somebody that was either one of your students, a former student, or a teacher at the school, or a kid at the school that knew who you were. And it was fun though. I mean, I wouldn't go back and change, my career choices at all.
No, I'm sure you've made a huge impact on a lot of kids, and I know just have a real calming influence in speaking with you. Someone mentioned to me, when a coach they're trying to be like they are in Hard Knocks, they're cussing and yelling, they're overcompensating, and you're right. I mean, some kids, don't have all the everything that we have, so you don't want to beat them down and
No.
tear them apart for sure.
No, you don't. And I mean, every kid reacts differently. And, just from my background and stuff, I don't use profanity. My parents didn't use profanity. Growing up, I wasn't around people who used it. And of course, now the last 2.5 years, I think, Georgia high school has put that as an emphasis as profanity, not just only from the players, but from the coaches as well. So we're supposed to address that because coaches, just like referees in Georgia, we're considered part of the education system, during the basketball game. So we're not there just to officiate the game, because a lot of times if you go to a game, you'll hear a referee like, hands off, get your hands off, keep your hands down. It's, giving them a chance to correct the mistake before we nail them with a foul. Sometimes it takes calling a foul on them to fix the issue. But it just depends on the referee too as well. So, but we try to help educate the kids and along the way during the game as well.
No, that's great. That's what I loved. Referring back to one of our favorite coaches, John Wooden, they said the
Mhm.
harshest word he ever said was "dad gummit." He never cursed.
Yeah,
And he was so far ahead of his time. And also Deion Sanders, if you watch the
yeah,
Prime show on his teams, he doesn't say any curse words at all. So I
yeah,
really respect that about him a lot.
yeah. I wish more coaches were like that because they're you don't have to do that to get your message across.
No, that's right. I love the show Hard Knocks because it shows you the inner workings of NFL. But boy, yeah, the language is unbelievable.
Oh
But I'm
yeah.
thinking someone like Tony Dungy in the NFL, he never had to go down that route either.
No, he didn't. And one of my favorite coaches after John Wooden was Jimmy Valvano, and you
Oh,
know,
me too. I love Coach
but
V.
um, I got to hear him speak at a coaching clinic in Birmingham that Nike put on, and he was just like you thought he would be. Like you saw him on the basketball court. That same enthusiasm and that same passion was at his, the conferences where he would speak on, either offense or defense, whatever the topic was he was given, to speak on at that particular clinic. And afterwards, he was one of the few coaches that would actually take time to speak to us individually, and usually it was just to get his autograph or say, "Hey, I'm so happy to meet you." And but he took the time, and he was really a great individual.
Well, that's great to hear. He's my second favorite coach. We have
Yeah.
a lot in common. We didn't even talk about Coach V. I've seen the 30 for 30 survive in advance
Oh,
probably 20 times. And
yeah.
I've watched the entire video. You know how they do those little clips of him,
Oh, yeah.
about nothing happens without great flaming enthusiasm he talks about. So he was just a one in a million, just taken too soon. But that's awesome that you met him and got to know him a little bit. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, he was an awesome speaker and just an awesome all around coach. And you could tell his players love playing for him.
Yeah, and he was a guy from New Jersey thrown into, NC State, North Carolina, and what he did for me, that upset was almost like the US hockey team beating Russia in 1980.
Yeah, somebody did a survey on Facebook about their top 10 final fours or championship games, and they didn't have his number one. I'm like, no, the best comeback ever was that game, was when they
Well,
beat.
yeah, they beat what, Clyde Drexler, Hakeem
Oh yeah.
Olajuwon. I think they had
Oh
another
yeah.
NBA guy.
They did. It was a game they weren't supposed to win, and luckily with his strategy at the end, it helped them, secure the game. So,
But it is weird they beat our team in the Final Four the last time we made it in the Final Four.
well, yeah, we won't discuss that. So,
No, no. But anyway, if anyone was going to beat us, I would want it to be him for
oh
sure.
yeah, yeah, that's true. But Georgia basketball, I think the coach they have now is getting back on the right track. And
No, I told my friend if we could just make the tournament every 2 or 3 years, we're happy. But you would know a lot better than me, Tommy. We should be a lot better,
we should be. Yeah.
really, with the talent in high school talent in Georgia, and Georgia Tech should be. That's my number one rival. But shame on them for not being better
Oh yeah.
with
Well,
being in Atlanta.
yeah, I think both our teams, boys and girls at Georgia, should be a lot better than what they are. But I mean, I think the boys team is headed in the right direction. The girls team didn't have a great season, but it wasn't terrible either. So I think, I think they're trending in the right direction. So
No, I agree. And speaking of colleges now, and with NIL, name, image, and likeness, and now in Georgia they're able to monetize. What impact has NIL had on high school athletes in Georgia? Have you experienced any of it?
we haven't experienced any of it yet. It just got approved, I think, last season or during the season before that. So we haven't seen much of that yet as far as the impact on the players yet. But um, as far as the basketball game has gone, uh, now I do have one of my referee friends, her grandson is committed to Southern Cal in football. He's currently a junior, be a senior next year. Um, and he's already got some NIL deals for high school. I don't know the monetary amounts, obviously, for that, but I mean, it hasn't changed him personally. He's a good kid, good player, works hard. Um, he's currently rated the number one linebacker in Georgia in the country, or outside linebacker. But he's a really good kid, plays basketball and football. This was his last season playing basketball because he's going to be enrolling early. But I'm still trying to convince him and James to go to Georgia. But he hadn't
That's
signed,
right.
he hasn't signed anything yet. So still working on that. As far as high school, as far as college goes, I mean, I can see the good and bad of it. I don't really like the way they have the portal set up, as far as the timing's concerned. Just because for football that's open during the playoffs. Um, so I think that should be done like either after the playoffs or whatever. And the same with basketball. Theirs was open during the tournament. I'm like, that's just bad timing. Because if you're doing that, number one, the coach has to make a decision: are we going to play you or not? And to me, I mean, to me, when you, and I know in the past I took some slack on this, but to me, when you agree to a scholarship to a school, to me, that's almost like a contract. So you should try to stay there the whole time that you're playing and have some loyalty to your school. And I mean, I know it's now getting about to be about all the money, uh, like on the women's side in basketball, when LSU beat Iowa that year, most of their players stayed another year and they were very vocal about it. We're making more money here at LSU than we would in the WNBA. So why should we go? And I mean, I just hope those players like that take advantage of the money, which part of you can't blame them, honestly. But I hope that the passion for the game and their love for the game isn't affected by those things because, without the game, they wouldn't have those opportunities to get an education, to get a degree, and have the chance to, well, a very small percentage of the players have a chance to go play pro. Um, so, I mean, I hope it doesn't affect the passion that they have for the game and the love for the game because that should come first and foremost.
Yeah, I agree with you. And as we speak, they're going to have a ruling about revenue sharing. So
Yeah.
that's going on this month in April. So probably in the future, the universities and colleges will just pay the players directly and they'll have a lump sum. And that's why you see these GMs now. But you are right. But from what I've seen and just researched from our website, it seems like the female athletes are just more mature and probably just better at managing this. I'm thinking of Flage, the basketball player at LSU, who stayed an extra
Right.
year, who
Yeah.
does a lot to pay it forward, and Livy Dunn, the gymnast, who's probably one of the most
Mhm.
famous, who
At
took
LSU,
advantage of
yeah.
NIL.
Yeah. And I think one other person is called, and this is going to be a Georgia guy, Brock Bowers, when he was at Georgia, he gave back to the other players on the team that weren't giving as much. In fact, I remember reading a story where is either one season or the whole time he didn't take any of his money. He just gave it to other players and gave it back to the community, which is a good thing. He's helping people that are less fortunate than him for the most part. And I'm sure he's still doing something like that. Wish he would have got picked to come to Atlanta, but
No, that's right. He's incredible. But you're right about him, and he did a lot in the Athens community, as do a lot of the Georgia players. He organized during Christmas, during the holidays, when he was there. A lot of the players donated
Oh
their
yeah,
NIL earnings to buy Christmas gifts
yeah,
for underprivileged kids throughout Athens. So there is a hashtag NIL for good. So a lot of them, and we had a backup lineman that his daughter or his sister was sick, and I think he
Mhm.
helped pay for her surgery.
Right.
So
There's a
there
lot.
are some good things. Like anything, like these pro athletes, it just depends on the personality and what they can do. A lot of good with that money, but a lot of them, they can be entrepreneurs and brand themselves. And if they save that money up, those that are fortunate to make that money, they
Yeah.
can really do well down the road.
Oh yes, sir, they can, and they can make a difference with that, and a lot of them are. So
No, that's right. So this is a big question. I know we talked about this big topic. How has parents' behavior changed over the years? And
oh
now with NIL thrown in the mix, I'm sure it's a lot different?
Yeah, it's a lot different. I would say for this past season at the high school level, the parents were not as bad as you hear and see stuff on Facebook and everything, or any social media platform. You don't, there's going to be some fans, of course, again, but like I mentioned earlier, for the most part, if you're one of the referees that doesn't have rabbit ears, you just don't listen to them. It's hard to shut it out sometimes. It really is. But I mean, again, um, I see more of the bad behavior, um, unfortunately, in like rec league games or travel basketball. Um, they're a little worse there, and I say that, and again, when me and some of the referees I work with all the time during travel ball, when we go to certain places and they recognize who we are and they know remember how we call, you don't have the issues because they know they're not going to be there much longer if they act crazy. So, but again, I think, referees aren't perfect. We make mistakes. We're human just like everybody else. The only difference is you're getting to critique my performance live right there, and it's fine. I'm gonna make mistakes, and I own up to them. The biggest thing that we try to do as officials is just be consistent. You know, it's just like everybody's talking about the foul called on Cooper Flag, the other night. Um, Not saying the official was wrong, with the call, not saying he was right with the call. Uh, my only opinion was that it wasn't consistent with the way they were calling the game the whole night to that point. There were other no calls that had a lot more contact than that weren't called. So I think it should have been a no call in my opinion. But again, I'm not the one there. I'm not the referee there. He may have saw something that we didn't see on camera. So, I don't know. But um, no matter what, when you're a referee and you blow your whistle, you're going to make at least half the crowd happy and half the crowd not so happy. So it doesn't matter really. But you kind of have to tune that out and just do your job and do the best thing and that kind of stuff. So um, that's all we can try to do again. And it's just, hope God gives us the vision and the fortitude to call the game the way we see it and call it fairly. That's all we can do.
Yeah, that's right. Well, kudos to you, Tommy. It takes a lot of courage to do this. And it seems like everyone's emotionally invested, the
Oh yeah.
parents, the players, and now with NIL, everything's really heightened. So
Yeah.
it is a lot of, the parents are under pressure too with college dreams and trying to get scholarships for their kids. And then I'm sure you see a lot trying to live through their kid.
Yeah, some of them do, yeah. But I mean, especially with travel ball, it's hard because those parents have invested not just their time, but also a lot of money to get the kids to the tournaments, to get the kids involved with the team. And sometimes you pick the right travel ball organization for your kid to be a part of, and sometimes you don't. You have to change, after a season. I know there are some kids here in Rome that play for more than one organization, which I'm sure it's got to be hard on the kid plus the parent. Um, I mean, I'm a firm believer that travel ball can be a good thing, but I also agree that the kids between middle school and somewhere need a break from everything just to restore their mental health, just relax. I mean, let their emotions and their brains take a break from everything and just relax, and like with travel ball, it starts in May or it starts in April and sometimes March. They get a break, I think, in the month of June or maybe it's July. But I mean, they need the time just to refocus, revitalize, and not just their bodies, but their mental. Uh, and that's not to say that every kid has mental issues, not saying that, but every kid needs some time just to take a break and just to go, I can finally relax for a little while, not worry about having to be at practice or go play a game. They can just like we used to do, go outside and shoot free throws at your goal in your yard, you know.
That's right. Yeah, play horse and have fun with it. You're right.
Yeah.
That my niece played at a high level, like Olympic development team soccer, and boy, the parents. This was several years ago. They were just so ramped up, and I felt bad for the kids. There was incredible
Yeah.
amount of pressure, and it would just it really took the fun out of the game. And have you worked with a group called Pure Athlete with Jeff Francoeur? I know they try to rein in parents' bad behavior, and David Pollock, our guy at Georgia, does too.
I haven't, but I will try to get in touch with them to do that because right now I'm trying to organize something that may not happen this summer, but it may hopefully happen next summer right after school gets out. I'm trying to work with Protect Your Game, which they were at CADCA at the event we were at. And I'm hoping that we can get an event put together here in Northwest Georgia to not just invite the two schools that I work with in this area, as far as the drug-free communities that I work with. But hopefully we can get all the athletic directors and coaches and at least one or two players from every sport to come to the event and have them talk about, what substance use does to their bodies, how it affects the potential of injuries. It increases the chance of you being injured. Um, and that's just underage drinking, underage vaping, just the main two things they talked about. Um, and what they do basically is give them challenge them to be substance free during your season. That's a start at least, so hoping we can plan that because that'll be a pretty big endeavor to take up, just to invite all the high schools and middle school coaches and athletic directors and one or two players from each school, each sport to come to one central location for at least a day and have it hear that what they, it can do to you. Because a lot of them, of course, me and you know this, they don't know what they're putting in their bodies when they hit those vapes. And now it's coming out that some of the vapes now have been laced with fentanyl. Um, and that's even worse. So, um, I think that's a good way to get them informed. And, at first, if you talk to schools and coaches and you mention vaping and drinking, their first reaction is going to be, well, our kids are athletes. They don't do that. I'm like, you'd be surprised. I remember when I was playing, which was, we won't mention the year that I was playing in high school and stuff, but uh, I was the one who didn't drink on the team. And my parents knew that if I got phone calls late at night, which of course back then was the traditional phones that woke everybody up in the house, that was probably one of my players going, can you come and get me? I can't drive. And I would go get them. My parents like, yeah, just be careful, and get them home. So that was, I will say that was in the 80s, but it wasn't as prevalent then as it is now as far as the drinking because the kids have easier access to it now. So they tell us in our surveys we give them. So, um, but yeah, I think it would be a good event if I can get it done. And if I can get Pollock and Frank Core's organization involved, that'd probably be just as well too to have them there the same day.
Yeah, that would be great. Let me know how I can help because that's another
Okay.
passion project of mine. And you're right, these vapes really are toxic and poison.
Mhm.
And
They really
yeah,
are.
you know better than me, Tommy. Some of these vapes have the equivalent of 20 cartons of cigarettes. I mean, they're
Oh
just so
yeah.
powerful.
That is true. And my biggest issue, of course, is the way they market it with all these flavors that, sorry, most adults that I know aren't worried about cotton candy flavored cigarettes or tobacco products, but a kid hears that, oh, I bet that's good, or if it's bubblegum flavor. So they're targeting kids even though they shouldn't be. And I think there needs to be more regulation, on the vapes than there are because most of the flavors I've been told and I've seen and done some research are not even FDA approved to go in there. And that's to me, that's a little on the dangerous end. So
And yeah, you're right. It's so hard to control. I know the session just wrapped up. They tried to rein it in, but they just keep changing the formulas. And again, you
Mhm.
would know better than me, but I think even the chemicals to make the cherry flavor can be
Yeah.
really harmful or even cause death
Oh
on
yeah.
top of the other stuff. Then you throw in THC and fentanyl,
Yep.
and it's just like playing Russian roulette.
It is. And the two schools I work with high school wise. So far this year, they've spent, I think I was told $150,000 on plumbing issues that were caused by vapes being flushed down the toilets. Instead of getting caught with them, they flush them down the toilets. And that's a lot of money for a school system to plan, to spend on something that they didn't plan on happening. And, so there's at some point in time, we'll have to figure out something to, get away with that. We have been approved finally by the board, the organization I worked with, the Georgia Prevention Project. We've been approved by the board to put disposable boxes in the restrooms for the two high schools to at least help with that, um, getting rid of them safely, even though we both know that kids that age shouldn't have them in the first place because they legally can't buy them. But that's a whole nother ball game.
No, it is. It is just very sad that kids have to do that. Shows you how addicted they are. They have to do it all throughout the day at school. I
Yeah.
mean, without it, they're going to have serious withdrawal. So it is very sad. But thank you for everything that you do in that space. And what's the most important lesson that sports can teach young athletes?
Um, it can teach them a lot, in my opinion. I mean, number one, it teaches them how to be a good teammate and how to cooperate with other players. And it also teaches them how, even though you may not like somebody outside of that sport, you have to put that aside when you cross the line, which I think we're missing a lot today in today's society is, when I was growing up, and probably the same for you, it was okay to disagree. It was okay to have a different opinion, and you were still friends, and you still go out and joke, have dinner, whatever, go to a ball game together, whatever. Now, not so much. It's if you disagree with me, I can't be friends with you. I can't talk to you. And I think that's completely wrong. Again, in our society, it's okay. So I think for the best thing for kids that want to be athletes or any referee starting out, number one, don't lose the love for the game that you're playing. Number one. Number two, work hard at it. Don't just think, well, I'm good like I am right now. You always have to work hard, work on the fundamentals on your own. Uh, Talk to your coaches, talk to your teammates about your teammates, mainly talk about things that they may be uncomfortable talking about. Like if you see one of your players or your teammates vaping or drinking, have a conversation with them. It doesn't have to be an attacking conversation. Just you can ask if they need help with it or do they want to talk about why they're doing it or, that kind of thing. Because the one thing that we hear all the time is, well, everybody's doing it. And that's really not the case based on statistics. There are more people not vaping, not drinking underage than there are vaping and drinking underage. So I think that was one thing. As far as referees, take the game seriously, learn the rules. Don't just think. I mean, we have a lot of young players that played basketball that come into our association, particularly, and they think because they played, they know all the rules. And I'll look at them and go, no, you don't. And I said, and trust me, from a former coach and a former player that's taught the same thing, that I knew all the rules. I didn't, but, take it seriously and try to be the best you can be. And every day try to be better than you were the day before, and be a positive role model for everybody that you're around, uh, and never get to the point that you think you're above the game. There's a company out there it's called Bigger Than Basketball, and their shirts have on it like family, attitude, other just positive things that are more important than basketball. I mean, sports are important, don't get me wrong, but your family, God, your grades, those are always more important than the game. So you have to balance both and do the best you can.
It's excellent advice, and really in the end, your best players have to be your best people. And the seminar that we went to, Protect Your Game, it was that football team. I want to say they were from Boston, and they were losing their games really badly, and they figured out everyone was going out partying the night before. So essentially, in a nutshell, they said, "Hey, let's just at least try to be sober the night before the game." Then they started winning and catching on. They started feeling better,
Hmm.
and most of them now are living sober-free lifestyle. And these kids, from what we saw, I mean, they felt like they really meant it. It was in their core,
Oh
and
yeah.
I just think it's an excellent program.
Me and you both. I thought it was like one of my favorite sessions of CATCA. Um, and for me, it was my first time at CATCA, so it was a really overwhelming experience. There was a lot of information I was taking in, and that was one of my favorites, just because a lot of people don't think it happens in the sports world, and it does, you know.
No, that's right. And getting back, I'll give a rare shout out to Georgia Tech. They're one of the probably their best coach. One of their in recent memory, Bill Curry talked about the huddle,
Yeah.
and it was black, white, Latino, Italian. Everyone just got together, no matter what their difference, Democrat, Republican, Independent, and they
Yeah.
all put that aside and they played that game together as a brotherhood. So there's really nothing like it. I played soccer when I was younger, and there's nothing like being part of a team, at any level. There's just something really special about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you look back and you played sports in high school or even in college, when you look back, that's usually the first thing that comes to your mind is your teammates you had, your coaches you had during that time. And those are usually most time are going to be lifetime friendships you develop, you know. Um, and when you go back to class reunions, it's funny how even now we tend to group together with like, okay, there's the basketball team, there's the football team, there's the cheerleaders, there's the band members, and it still happens now when we have our reunions, which it's still fun to see everybody, and talk about the old days and everything. So, or the
Yeah,
excuse me,
that's right. It's that bus ride, the dinners before and after the game, those relationships and all of that. And I
yeah.
know you've really lived through a lot of that. I'm sure you touched a lot of young people and still are. So before we close out, what about you mentioned your favorite all-time coach. Who are some of the best players that you've seen play as a referee?
As a referee, um, I got to referee at Lake Point um, when LeBron James' son Bronny was playing in one of the travel ball leagues. Chris Wade's son, um, and I think Chris Bosch of course, he played for that other team in Georgia. Uh, but
That's right.
uh, I don't. I hate. I don't. I'm okay with Georgia Tech. It's not really a rivalry anymore. Probably shouldn't say that, but
That's right.
I'm not a fan of the orange team up north from us at all. But
Yes.
um, some of the best players I've seen played here lately. There's a kid at Bowden that's committed to Georgia for football that also plays basketball, and he's just an all around very well mannered, very polite, very respectful player to the referees. And um, there's a kid at Armurchie who broke the scoring record this year. He's the same way. He's a good player, good shooter, good teammate. There's several good players in the area here. I'm not sure they'll go pro or whatever, but a lot of them will play at the next level for college and stuff. Um, a friend of mine, was it? Let's see, she's a freshman. So 2 years ago, we got to call some games with Sarah that goes to UConn, that's from Georgia. We got to see her play, and we were both like, after the first half, we are like, yeah, she's the real deal.
Wow, that's amazing. They just won the national championship. Yeah.
Yes, they did, and they were honestly they played South Carolina twice and was very dominant both times they played them. So it's like Don Staley said, they were just a better team this year, But I have a sneaking suspicion South Carolina will be back next year, uh, at least challenging for the national championship. I really like the way just Don Staley coaches her players, and she's a big part of the community there in Columbia, South Carolina, and uh, she has. I mean, they probably have one of the best fan bases in women's college basketball. They
Yeah.
follow them everywhere.
No, I really admire her too. She's very calm, but I also like fiery Kim Mulkey when she said she took the LSU job. She wanted to make the team better, but I also wanted to make the state better. So I always remember her saying that.
Yeah. She's a little fiery.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Uh,
but she
she
got,
is.
I think she's won 2 championships. Did she win one before LSU?
She won at Baylor, and
One
I
at
know
Baylor, that was
yeah,
it.
then she's won at LSU. She reminds me some of the coach I had my senior year in high school. We got a new coach that year, and the coach we had the previous 3 years was more laid back, calm, never really got excited. Uh, this guy came in, and first game we're playing at home, and all of a sudden we see his blazer flying in the stands. I'm like, oh God, we've never
Wow.
seen this on our sidelines before. So it was a good it was a good feeling to see, because we realized that okay, he's fighting for us at this point, and he was like the final straw for me. Is like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to coach, and I only had him for 1 year. And he was really a blessing. My first year coaching in school, he came and did a 1-day clinic for me. I asked him if he would mind coming up there, because being a first year coach, which was really my third year, because I coached 2 years while I was in college, but um, being a first year coach at a school and these kids don't know you and you don't know them, and him coming in after we'd already started practicing and everything, and did a 1-day clinic and pretty much did everything that we'd been doing. It justified to the kids that, okay, this guy does know what he's talking about. So that was it meant a lot for me that he took time out of his day and his life to come and do that 1-day clinic when he didn't have to, and I've tried to do the same thing. Like, I have some travel ball teams here in Rome that I go to their practices when they ask me to come as a referee and as a coach, to, like, this is what they're going to call when you do that, when you're doing that, you know, and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I appreciate the invitations, and it gives me a chance to meet the players on a different level than me wearing a shirt with a whistle around my neck. So, that's important too. But yeah, Kim Mulkey's a good coach. I like, of course, Gino is probably the best coach right now with his 12 national championships and stuff. So, um, and of course, I think the young guy at Florida, who is the second youngest person to win a national title behind Jimmy Valvano, I think he did a good job, and he's only been there 3 years. So he's an up and coming coach that's already surpassed coaches that have been doing a lot longer than he has. So that's impressive too.
Yeah, so much great insight. Now, how can others get in touch with you?
They can either email me at tbaker@georgiapreventionproject.com, or if they want to, they can text or call me at 706-766-0867. Just remember, I'm on the Eastern time zone, so
Yeah. This has been amazing, Tommy. So many great takeaways. And, it's been said that a coach has more influence on, a young person than really anybody.
yeah.
And a lot of times a parent. So I know you're that guy. So thank you for everything, all this
Mm.
incredible wisdom. And I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you'd like to be a guest or reach out to me, you can call me at 404-433-7490, or of course text. I can also be reached at Brian, BRIAN 3008 at iCloud.com. I have a website, nilinsight.com. So, and the name of this podcast is NIL Mindset. It's on YouTube. So, greatly appreciate this, Tommy. This
Oh,
was amazing, and I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for what you do, and
I
just keep
appreciate
paying
it.
it forward.
Oh, well, I hope so. That's what I want to do, is keep paying it forward. And I appreciate your letting me be on the show. And hopefully I can come back again and visit sometime and talk about some other things.
Yes, please do. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you.